The daunting West Coast road trip for the Red Sox is finally over. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and the Boston Red Sox just wrapped up their 10-game West Coast road trip of the season, and it ended pretty well for the Red Sox. They took that last game in pretty high fashion and ended up winning the series 2-1 against the Los Angeles Angels, which officially puts their total win total on the season at 7-3, which is good for second in this division right now, for whatever that matters at this point in the year. Now, this series in particular had some really positive takeaways, as well as some really concerning ones as well. Plus, they obviously lost one of their most key players for the 2024 season, and we don't know when he's coming back. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to take a look at this latest series. We're going to go over the good, we're going to go over the bad, we're going to go over the ugly, we're going to talk about everything and how it could affect the 2024 Red Sox going forward. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you're new here, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. We talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, these episodes are now available in listening form on Spotify. That's right, you can now get Red Seat Radio in podcast form if you're on the go or you just don't want to see my face every day. You can now listen to these episodes on Spotify. Link will be in the description down below. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. For the first time this entire season, I think the best part of this series was the Red Sox offense. They had a lot of really great performances in this one, but none were better than Tyler O'Neill, who may be the hottest hitter on planet Earth right now. He had 3 separate home runs in this series, 2 in game 1, 1 in game 3. He is currently hitting .357 with a 1.407 OPS, which is one of the best OPSs in all of Major League Baseball right now. It's just absolutely absurd. Video game type numbers. He has become extremely important to the Boston Red Sox offense, not only because of what he's doing at the plate right now, but because Story going down means it's basically up to Tyler O'Neill alone to provide that right-handed power in this lineup, and he's officially become basically your number 1 right-handed hitter. So far, he looks up for the task. The second best offensive performance in this one, Reese McGuire. I honestly did not think I was going to say that at any point this season, but here we are. He had 2 home runs in this series, 1 in the first game, 1 in the last game. Also, he had a 5 RBI day in the last game of the series, the highest of his entire career, and those 2 home runs also already match his home run total from the 2023 season. He's having a really good offensive season at the plate so far. A .333 average with a 1.01 OPS, which is really solid for Reese McGuire. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Cora's even saying that for right now, Reese McGuire has won the starting catching job because of what he's been able to do at the plate. Hopefully this is able to continue. I have a feeling this hot streak is probably going to come to an end at some point, but it's nice to have it while we have it. Jarren Duran hit a home run in this one, his first of the season. No stolen bases in this series, but he did make a game-saving diving catch at one point during the second game, even though they ended up losing. Right now, he's impacting the game at every single avenue possible and may be the Red Sox most important player at the moment. He's currently hitting .349 with a 6-game hit streak going on too. He had a hit in every single game in this series, which is pretty impressive to say. I don't know what got into Jarren Duran, but he is absolutely killing it right now. Costas is putting it together at the plate a little bit. He had 4 hits in this series, including his first home run of the season as well. I think the Red Sox really need him to start stepping up to the plate and really becoming that consistent hitter that we saw last year, but I have faith that that's coming together. He's always been a slow starter, and this hopefully is the start of this ball rolling down the hill and gaining momentum and becoming what he was last year. Devers had a home run in this series as well. Outside of that, a bit of a slow series for him. He's still struggling a little bit at the plate, but you can tell he's pretty banged up. He was grabbing a bit at his shoulder in the last game. We know that was bothering him in the Seattle series, and he got hit pretty hard on the hand in the first game. I was surprised he stayed in this game. Again, I'm not really worried about Rafi at all. I mean, he's still mesmerizing to watch. I have no idea how he hit this baseball that he hit for a home run out of the park. I mean, this thing was what, a foot outside of the zone. It's just what Rafi does. Now, with Story going down, the Red Sox initial move was to bring up David Hamilton. I didn't absolutely love this move to begin with. I thought last year his sample size did not look very good. He wasn't hitting very well in spring training, and to start the year in Worcester, he didn't look very good either, but he immediately made a pretty decent sized impact. He made a couple of good plays on the field in his first at bat in a Red Sox uniform this season. He hit a home run, which was his first big league home run, so congrats to David Hamilton. He also had another hit in this game as well, and he looked pretty good at the plate. I know it's one game sample size, but hey, maybe we could get something out of David Hamilton this season. And then finally, Ceddanne Rafaela had a pretty decent offensive game in the last game as well. He had another triple. That's 2 on the season for Ceddanne Rafaela. He had an RBI base hit. We're going to need Ceddanne to step up kind of big time here in the Red Sox lineup. I know he's been doing it on the field, and we'll talk about the field in a second overall in this series. But again, with Trevor Story going down, production from the right-hand side now rests on Connor Wong, Tyler O'Neill, and Ceddanne Rafaela, with Pablo Reyes mixed in every once in a while. This Story injury is going to affect the entire offense no matter what he was producing at the plate. Overall, when you take a look at the offense, it's hard to be upset by anything, right? They hit more home runs in the first game of the series than they had hit previously over the entire year, and it looks like that power stroke is coming back a little bit. Hopefully, this is the sign that they are turning a corner into really sort of getting this offense rolling, because that's been an issue for this entire season so far, is that the Red Sox offense hasn't been all that productive consistently. Now, what I will say is that I am a bit concerned that this offense is going to be feast or famine like we saw last year, right? Where they're either hitting 9-10 runs a game, or they're getting shut out, or they're scoring 1 run off of a sac fly. That's what we saw a lot last year, and that consistency or lack thereof really hurt the Red Sox over the long run of the 2023 season. They need to find a way to be more consistent in 2024. I'm still not worried at all about this offense. I really think that they're going to start getting it rolling here at some point over the next coming series, especially with how they ended game 3 and what they were able to do in game 1. We know for a fact that there's going to be some pop in this lineup, and that's a really, really great sign. And again, they win this series, so it's hard to really complain about anything. Let's take a look at what the pitching did in this series as well. Cutter Crawford started this series off, and he was good-ish. His stat line looked pretty solid. He went 4 2/3 innings, allowing 2 hits, 1 earned run, striking out 7, but walking 3. He just flat out lost it in the 5th inning and couldn't find the strike zone at all. But again, it's hard to argue with those results. He's the first pitcher all year to not make it through the 5th so far. But again, it was still an encouraging stat line overall. I will say that the second round through this rotation, while the results were still pretty solid, there were some signs of concern, specifically with the command of everyone's pitches. Garrett Whitlock looked eerily similar to Cutter Crawford in this series. He went 4 1/3 inning, allowing 4 hits, no earned runs, striking out 4, but walking 4 as well. Again, the command just flat fell apart in this 5th inning. Not a terrible start, but Cora said it best. These guys give them 5 innings. They are in a really good spot to win these games. They got to be able to do that more times than not, and they didn't in this series. They did get lucky because the offense really showed up in this series, but that's not going to happen every time. You're going to need these starters to go 5 innings, and Whitlock and Cutter were not able to do that in this one. Houck, on the other hand, absolutely did, and he looked incredible in this series in his second turn through the rotation. He went 6 full innings, allowing 4 hits, no earned runs, and struck out 7 while walking just 2. It's hard to fully gauge what Houck looks like this year, as he's only faced the Angels and the Athletics, who aren't the most potent lineups in the world, but it's hard not to start getting really excited about what he could be this year. He looks like a completely different pitcher in the best way possible, and my most encouraging sign here is that he's making it through 3 turns in a lineup, right? He's not having that issue, at least to start the 2024 season. Gonna have to see what that looks like once he starts facing more potent lineups, which we should see a little bit over the coming days. Now, again, in terms of starting pitching as a whole, it's still really solid. The Red Sox are still top of the league in team ERA for starters. They're still top of the league for ERA in general as well, but there were some concerning signs, and I think it had a lot to do with the command that Red Sox pitchers were showing later in games. I'm wondering if the heavy diet of off-speed pitches that's working out really well in terms of results is also sort of wearing these guys down by the time they get to the 5th or 6th inning. We'll see how that progresses over the course of the year, but again, hard to argue with the actual stat lines here. As for the bullpen, they were pretty solid. I would say for the most part, they did pretty well. Everyone did their job. I don't think there was an earned run, maybe one earned run throughout the entire series from this bullpen. They still look absolutely dominant. I love Justin Slayton. I think he's going to be a very integral part of this bullpen going forward. He came in and he struck out, 5 of the 6 batters he faced. A really, really impressive outing from Justin Slayton. This one, shout out to Chase Anderson, who came into a game where you were probably going to win it, but needed to pitch those innings, and he did it and did it pretty well. I think Chase Anderson could be a solid sort of mop-up guy for the Red Sox, which is still a really important role for this team. Honestly, the problem with the pitching in this series really wasn't the pitching at all. It had a lot more to do with the defense. In this series alone, the Red Sox had 4 errors and 6 unearned runs come across the plate. That just simply cannot happen. It can't become a trend. We saw in 2023 what a bad defense does over the course of a year, and it doesn't end very, very well, right? With Story going down, it's going to be a lot harder to have a solid defense behind these pitchers, especially when you got replacements like Pablo Reyes and David Hamilton, who are fine, but they're not going to make the above average play. Trevor Story was going to make that above average play. The other thing we saw on defense in this series was just flat lazy plays. Ceddanne Rafaela had one, Emmanuel Valdez had one, Rafael Devers had one that really cost them the game, and that just, the mental mistakes are what's going to kill this team, and it just simply needs to be cleaned up as soon as humanly possible. I'm not overall concerned with Ceddanne Rafaela in center field. I think he'll figure it out. I am still concerned with Emmanuel Valdez, even though he was still making some really great plays overall. And obviously, Rafi, dude, just clean it up, right? At some point, you got to figure out how to just make the regular plays. He can make the fantastic plays, but the regular plays tend to get him a lot. That was a play that should have been made, and the Red Sox probably should have come out of this series with a sweep. But at the end of the day, you get the series win. I'm just concerned that this defense is going to start spiraling a little bit, and we saw what that looked like in 2023, which is super concerning. And the other thing too is it's preventing these pitchers from getting further into games. These guys need to be able to go deep into games, and that is going to have a lot to do with the defense as well. So overall, when you're looking at this series win, it was a series win, right? There were obviously some really positive takeaways. I think the biggest one is that the Red Sox offense is starting to show some thunder, which is exactly what they needed. And also the pitching staff remains pretty solid. And there were obviously some negative takeaways too. I'm concerned that the Red Sox offense is going to be feast or famine this year. We'll see how that works out. And the defense, you just need to clean it up. You need to clean it up. No more stupid mental mistakes that end up costing you guys runs and wins, and overall throughout the season, a winning record. That's what happened last year. It can't happen this year. Just simply can't. You need to be better defensively. At the bare minimum, you need to be able to make the everyday plays. While this was a win, and overall you start the year at 7-3, I think no one really expected that, especially after how this offseason went. The Red Sox are second in this division right now. They look really, really good as a team, and the vibes, maybe that's what's willing them to these wins, because the vibes are really, really high right now. Again, the Trevor Story thing coming out of this series, we will have more information later today, and that's when we will be making a full video on Trevor Story. So we're not going to talk a ton about him in this one, but he's going to have a huge impact going down for this team. So I don't know. I'm positive about this win. I'm positive about this team right now, but I'm hesitantly positive. If they could figure out the issues that we saw in this series, they could be a really solid team. If they don't, we could be in for a really long season. So right now, I'm hesitantly positive, but it's hard to argue with a 7-3 start because that looks really, really good. So let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts? What do you like about this team right now after their first West Coast road trip? What are you concerned with this team, and how do you think this Angels series went? Let me know all your thoughts on the latest Red Sox series in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk Sox content almost every single day. Plus, you made it to the end here, you might as well hit that sub button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Don't forget, if you don't want to see this face every day, or if you want to listen on the go, you can listen to these episodes in audio form on Spotify. The link is in the description down below. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.